Let's welcome in the athletic director for San Diego State, J.D. Wicker, joining us here on the Cannons. J.D., it's great to have you back, and I want to start with the latest. What is the latest regarding San Diego State, their desire to purchase the land in Mission Valley to begin the Sdsu West project? Where do we stand right now?
Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. I appreciate the time, and obviously there is the draft appraisal is out. The city released that earlier this week, and we know what that fair market value is for the property. And we are ready to write a check to the city of San Diego based on that fair market value to purchase the property and get SDSU Mission Valley built out.
Hello.
Yeah.
Wait a second now, JD.
How big of a check are we talking about?
No, hold on here. Let me get this in here. So because
none for you.
I assume
I'm just
JD.
saying.
Okay, so they throw a number out, and it come maybe a little below some of the estimates of what it was going to come. But you're satisfied with that number? In other words, there's not going to be any negotiating period here. You're ready to write that check?
Well, technically, that is the most expensive appraisal out there based on, what we started with. If you go back to 2017 and the appraisal that came out that the Soccer City folks said they would pay, the $82 million, but that was for 232 acres, so, $355,000 an acre. And now, the agreed upon price right now is $515,000 an acre. So, again, we wanted fair market value. The appraiser has come back with a number, and we're comfortable that that's a number that, works for us, that we think is, for the most part, fair, and, the appropriate things have been incorporated into said appraisal. And, we're ready to get moving. I mean, again, we want to get this thing built, and this is the next step in that process.
I know that as you're so deeply involved in all of this and you understand the nuance of the situation, was this a sort of an obstacle you foresaw, the fact that there may be a little issue over the appraisal, the exact amount of the land purchase, when the check was going to be written, when you were actually the owner of the land in Mission Valley?
Yeah, I mean, it's a negotiation. And again, there's, certain pieces that we wanted to see in it. There's certain pieces that the city wants to see in it, and we feel like the appraiser, did an appropriate job. There's certain, parameters that go into any appraisal that gets done. The demolition of the stadium is something that would be incorporated into any appraisal on that site. It's like when you buy a house and you want certain elements fixed or whatever it is before you actually take ownership of it so that it's in great shape. This would kind of be, along a similar thinking. So we knew it would be a process, but we set a timeline that we left ourselves plenty of time to get these types of things done, but still allow us to get moving expeditiously.
So you hope, JD, that you can still begin construction at some point in the first half of 2020?
Yeah, I mean, that's still our plan. I mean, again, we have a very good starting place publicly now to move forward with this. And, our hope is that we can, close this last gap with the city as soon as we possibly can. And, we feel comfortable we can do that and still get to the Board of Trustees in January.
San Diego State Athletic Director J.D. Wicker is joining us. All right, let's get to business at hand. Speaking of your football team right now, sitting at 4-1 overall, and taking on a very tough Wyoming team that Coach Rocky Long has said is the best overall team we have seen all season long. What are your observations so far of your Aztecs football team?
Yeah, one thing I'll say, our defense is legit. Kiava Tizino leading that crew. They are this is as good a defense as I've seen us have, from a consistency standpoint, I feel like in a while. And offensively, we're still, we're transitioning into a different, formation. And I like some of the things that I saw at Colorado State. I like that we threw the ball, and we threw the ball pretty well. And, looking forward to seeing that progress Saturday night against the Cowboys.
Coming off that win against Colorado State, it wasn't lost on me. Certainly, I was walking around Canvas Stadium at Fort Collins and trying to envision that stadium sort of in San Diego, because Populous, the architecture firm, was a large part of the designing of that stadium, and I realize that relationship is the one that has been spurned to begin the construction here in San Diego. Did you see any last-minute things walking around Canvas Stadium where you went, ooh, you know what, we didn't bring that up, that would be great in San Diego, or is a lot of that already sort of written in stone and cemented down?
Yeah, the fact that, it was my fourth time to be there, didn't necessarily see anything that was new, but the one thing that I thought, kind of reinforced some of our thinking was the new Belgium porch that was in one end zone. That was pretty much full for the entire game, even though, we played well enough that we made it easy for some Rams fans to go home early, or most of them to go home early. The new Belgium porch pretty much stayed full the entire time. So as we think about some of those standing room only areas, the piers, and other places within the stadium, we know that those are really going to resonate.
J.D. Wicker joining us here on the Cannons Extra 1360. I know we've been talking about this TV contract, J.D., for the Mountain West, but from San Diego State's perspective, what's most important? Is it the revenue associated with the TV deal or the start times associated with your programs in football and men's basketball?
It's both of them, and it's finding that right mix of, the revenue coming in, because obviously revenue is very important to us, but also being able to, have a little earlier kick time or tip time. We're fortunate being in San Diego in the Pacific time zone. That generally with football, we're kicking sometime in the 7 o'clock hour. We do get into some basketball games that's an 8 p.m. tip, although a lot of our fans in North County don't mind 8 p.m. tips because it makes traffic a little easier. I think we'd like to see that a little earlier. And I think we're moving towards, finding a good fit with that. We know we're going to have to give some of those times up, some Thursdays and Fridays like we do now for football, but, it's that revenue number, the correct number with what we're giving up.
JD, I saw Mark Few, Gonzaga basketball coach, blasting California Governor Gavin Newsom for the Fair Pay for Play law. It's been a couple of days now, about a week or so, to digest this. I'm sure you're getting a lot of feedback. Now that we know this is going to become law in January 1st of 2023, having a few days to sort of digest what's happening here, what do you think the next step is going to be? Are we going to see enough states sort of step in line, or should the programs that are not in California have some genuine concerns right now?
I think the big thing is, one, we'll continue moving along with the working group that the NCAA has, put in place to study name, image, and likeness. I mean, it is incredibly complicated. I saw an article today where, someone at Endeavor, one of the major firms, was like, yeah, there's a handful of student athletes, 5 or 10, that might get 5 or 6 figure contracts. But other than that, there's not going to be much, these really large contracts. So I think, one, people kind of have this, I think people are enamored with it and think there's going to be all this money out there. I don't know that that's going to be the case. So I'm interested to see our working group have an opportunity to put something forward and come up with something reasonable that works for everybody, that allows us to, to continue the collegiate model. And I think on the other side of it, I wouldn't be surprised if the NCAA, goes the legal route and tries to at least get, any other state's bill held until we can, figure things out. Because if you get 12 different states with 12 different models, it's just not going to work. I mean, it creates something that's untenable. So I think you'll see the NCAA try to, move quickly with doing something in California on the interruption of interstate commerce, and, that will hold everyone else at bay.
J.D. Wicker, San Diego State Athletic Director, joining us right there on the Loose Cannons. And before you go, really quick off the text line, we have one of our show listeners ask, are they going to blow up the old stadium, and can the public watch it? Please say yes.
That decision has not been made.
Okay.
There are pros and cons to just blowing it up
Right.
versus kind of taking it down in a structured takedown. I mean, one of the great things is from an environmental standpoint, all of that, all of the concrete is staying on the site. We're going to grind the concrete up and put it into, the base that we're building there. So that's a good thing. We're, from an environmental standpoint, very friendly demolition of the stadium.
More important question, are the Cannons going to be there for the ribbon cutting for the building of the new stadium?
I would plan one. Y'all would be there for the shovel in the ground when we do. We kick that off hopefully early next year, and then yes, for the ribbon cutting. That would be my goal, to have some Cannon Karma there.
Absolutely.
Steve just bought the very big scissor. He's got like that huge scissor.
Let me tell you something. That new stadium and the future of that stadium and all those Aztec victories need the Cannon Karma from day one.
It's true.
Day one, guys. JD, as always, an honor, a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Guys, I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing everybody at SDCCU Stadium on Saturday night as we beat up on the Cowboys.